With service second to none, Deary Brothers Lincoln of Iowa City has been earning the business of customers in Johnson County and the surrounding area since 2010. Deary Brothers Lincoln is a full-service dealership offering new Lincoln custom orders with a dedicated sales, service, and parts department. They are proud to be here for you. As a happy customer, the entire Deary staff was unbelievable to work with. They found the vehicles our family was looking for, and we will definitely be doing business with them in the future. Check out Deary Brothers Lincoln on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at Deary Bros. Hello, and welcome to the Leave Your Legacy podcast. I'm your host, Kenya Murray, and today's episode, we have the 1999 Indiana Mr. Basketball, McDonald's All-American, and maker of one of the greatest shots in Big Ten tournament history for the Iowa Hawkeyes, Luke Recker. Luke, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to see you, Kenyon. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's been funny because we don't see each other, but you're right there in Coralville and you're raising your kids and everything. And you truly have went from being a Hoosier to a Hawkeye and made your roots here, man. So that's got to be awesome to be able to raise your family here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Never in a million years would I ever thought, one, I would have went to the University of Iowa, and two, live my life here. So, but it's great. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, life take you down many roads, and I'm so fortunate that I had the opportunity to come here and obviously meet my wife here and now raise a family here in Coralville, which is where we live. It's just a fabulous place, man. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, you know, and that's part of the legacy. You know, I think that's one of the things we talk about, but there's a lot of fans that probably don't know how you came to Iowa, but you were very heralded, and I think you committed to the University of Indiana when you were a sophomore in high school.
That's correct.
So back then, there was a lure to Indiana. So what was it about Indiana and Bob Knight that made Luke Recker commit as a sophomore?
Man, it's a crazy story. First off, I wasn't even an Indiana Hoosier fan. So
really?
People don't know this. I was born in Ohio. I lived in Ohio till I was in fourth grade. Then we moved to Indiana. Now, you played against this individual. My favorite player of all time played for Ohio State. Or number 22.
Oh, shoot, really?
Who's that?
Jim Jackson, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Toledo Maycomer High School from Toledo. Jim Jackson was like my idol. I love Jim Jackson. I love the Buckeyes. Then I moved to Indiana and eventually become, just through osmosis, people are crazy about Indiana basketball. So, but I started off, the team that first recruited me was Notre Dame, and Fran McCaffrey was the coach there. So I've known Fran since I was in junior high.
Yep.
And then I got an opportunity. Indiana started recruiting me, and it went really quickly. Quite frankly, I wasn't a huge Indiana fan, but my parents always told me that, hey, they told my sisters and I grew up with four sisters. They said, if you guys want to go to college, we're not paying for it. You got to figure out how to get a scholarship. Mm-hmm. And when they offered me a scholarship, I'm like, hey, I got my college paid for. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how good you are when you're 15 years old, right? Yeah. And I got that opportunity, so it was strange. It was weird. We went down. Actually, they were playing Iowa of all teams for a game, and afterwards, Coach Knight. There were a few recruits there, and Coach Knight said he wanted to see me, so we went in his office and with my parents, and they invited us down a couple weeks later. Came down a couple weeks later, and we were sitting around, and he basically goes, "Luke, would you like to play for Indiana someday?" And I'm like, "Sure, Coach." He's the most intimidating person I've ever been around in my life. Right. I've had the fortune of meeting a lot of people. And I'm like, yeah, of course, it'd be great. And he looked to my parents, said, hey, would you like Luke to play for Indiana? They're like, well, we'll support him whatever he wants to do. And if this is where he wants to go, sure, we'll support that. And Coach Knight's like, great, well, you're going to be a Hoosier. I'm like, what just happened there, right?
Wow.
So that's kind of how it really happened. I'm not saying I wouldn't have gone there or whatnot, but it was no intention. It happened really quickly. And then, now there's perks with committing to Indiana when you're that age, because suddenly everybody's at our high school games, and it was cool. But yeah, it was strange, but I did commit there pretty young.
Yeah, no, I know, and Damon Bailey's another one that committed really early, and obviously I remember seeing some documentaries on that too. But Indiana basketball has always been wild. So your high school, like I said, you became a McDonald's All-American. You're Mr. Basketball. Did you guys win state titles or anything like that?
So my senior year, so when I was in middle school or junior high, I think our high school was like 0-20. And honestly, wondering if I was even going to go there. I thought maybe I'd go to some private school just to get better competition. Well, we had a high school coach we hired a new high school coach, and the guy was phenomenal. The first thing he did is he gathered us all up in a bus, took us to Indianapolis, stood us on the steps of at the time it was called the Hoosier Dome or RCA Dome, and that's where they played the state championship. He's like, "We're going to play here someday, and if you don't believe that, then I don't want you in my program." And just changed the whole perspective of the program, the high school basketball program. Now, we ended up turning it around. I played with some pretty good players. Never actually, my senior year was the last year they had one class high school basketball in Indiana, which was incredible. I wish they would go back to it. But anyhow, we got to the final 8, and then unfortunately got bounced. But the year that my senior year, the team that won it was Bloomington North. They had Jared Jeffries, Sean May. I mean, they had a couple NBA.
They were
players.
loaded.
Yeah, they were loaded. So I'm not sure we would have beat them, but I was fortunate. I had some good, I think there was 4 or 5 guys I played with that throughout my course from high school career that played Division I. Nothing huge, but like Wright State, Wisconsin, Green Bay, places like that.
Gotcha. But you had some talent on the team.
Yeah, we had talent, and I think it all started with just this new coach came in and changed the mindset. He believed that we were going to get to this level, and he taught us that you don't get there without hard work. And, so it was awesome.
That's awesome, man. So, a lot of people don't know, well, sophomore year, you had a good sophomore year at Indiana, about 17 points a game, honorable mention all conference, that kind of stuff. And then you decided to leave.
I think I took shocked the world actually, or at least Indiana fans. So it goes back, I played there as a freshman, had a lot of success. I averaged close to 13 a game as a freshman at Indiana. Quite frankly, I just wasn't having a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, you're constantly, it's your dream to play in the Big Ten or ACC or SEC, whatever conference, but it's your dream to be on ESPN and hear Dickie V, announce your name. And I think there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure growing up there. Thank God they didn't have social media and all the stuff they have now.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, I wasn't really enjoying it to the level I thought. So, I explored leaving after my freshman year. Long story there.
Yeah.
Ended up having some conversations with the coach and went back. And then after my sophomore year, I said, you know what, this isn't really the place for me. So, I mean, I don't hold grudges. It was just at the time of my life, looking back on it, could have been the pressure, could have been whatever, but I just wanted to do something different.
No, it's a very similar story. I called my mom sophomore year. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and same thing. I wasn't having fun. We weren't very good that year.
Yeah.
I think we only had 8 scholarship guys on the team, and I just called my mom, and I remember having that conversation. And obviously, I stayed.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes people don't understand. Like, even though you're here and it's Indiana, you're still like, yeah, it's great, and I know the tradition, but I'm not happy. And so you were looking for the joy in something that had brought joy to you all these years.
For sure. It was just different, right? I listen, I mean, these college kids go through a lot. Like as you went through it yourself, and obviously as a parent of 2 boys that play Division I basketball, it's extreme pressure. I mean, there's a lot of eyes and focus on you, and it's hard for those kids to handle. So, and looking back, as a more mature person, I probably would have done things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I don't regret anything. I mean, obviously, decisions I made led to where I'm at today. I couldn't be happier. Tremendous life, tremendous family, and that's truly what matters. So, but I'm super pumped where I'm at now. Life's crazy, Kenyon, as you know. But the Indiana thing was a great experience. I mean, it was the fans in Indiana are next level. I remember specifically at Indiana, and you'd go play at like Happy Valley against Penn State, and it'd be the Bryce Jordan Center would be sold out, packed.
Yeah.
And, it didn't matter where you played. It was always packed. And then when I transferred to Iowa and we went and played there, and it's like 2,000 people. Like, what's going on?
Right.
It's everybody's there to see Coach Knight and, the Indiana mystique. And so, but I loved Iowa. I love where I'm at. I had a great experience here.
Yeah. And you talk about, so you leave Indiana.
Yeah.
So Iowa was one of the schools you considered.
Yeah. Not really, but kind of. Yeah.
All right. Notre Dame. Because you and I, because I've known Fran since I was in high school too. He recruited me. Was North Carolina one of those schools? And then you opted
Florida.
Yep.
And then Arizona.
Yeah.
So you get, remember if you back when we're old, so back in the day, you got those 5 official visits where they could actually pay for it. Notre Dame, I didn't take an official just because I grew up there. I knew it, and I went and visited there. And then that was actually when Matt Doherty, I think, just came in after John McLeod. So he was there, came in from Kansas on Roy Williams' staff. And then I took official to Florida with Billy Donovan back when they were pretty good.
Yeah.
And then North Carolina. Dean had just retired, and it was Bill Guthridge actually there. Dean Smith had just retired. And then Lute Olson at Arizona. And so Iowa took an official visit. I knew Steve Offord for a long, long time. And my dad was my parents had divorced when I was in high school. My dad was working in Washington, Iowa.
Yeah.
So it made sense to give him a shot, although there was really no true consideration at the time because you lost your scholarship in the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my mom was like, "You're crazy. Why would you take on student loans and debt when you go anywhere in the country for free?" So, I really didn't have an intention of going to Iowa, but I wanted to visit. And
that's all right. We came back around. Yeah.
No, but I came here. I was surprised. I was like, "Oh my God, this place is awesome."
Yeah.
And when you play here, I remember when we played here when I was in Indiana. You fly into Cedar Rapids, right? You get on a bus, you go down 380, you get on Interstate 80, and we stay at the old Highlander Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, and at that time, there was no like anything out there. Now there's Jimmy John's and the Mercy Search Center and all. There was nothing. I was like, holy cow, this really is a desolate place.
Yeah.
And then you take a bus and you go, I can't remember the route we took to get to Carver, but we didn't go through campus or downtown or anything. Yeah. And so I didn't know any of this existed until I took my visit here.
Yeah, well, that's funny. Well, Chris and Keegan didn't either because we never came down here if it wasn't for like a football game or basketball game. So they were surprised there too. But yeah, so you decided on Arizona, and we don't have to get too deep into it. But I mean, a part of your story is, that summer.
Yep.
You guys are going to, and I'm not sure what state you guys were in. Where you're in Colorado, and you're heading to a concert, and you end up in an accident where a number of people lost their lives.
Yeah.
You were badly hurt.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend at the time.
Yep.
Badly hurt. Her brother.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to share, like kind of take us through that time.
Yeah. So Arizona was the ultimate school that I wanted to go finish my basketball career at. I really fell in love with Lute Olson and his style of play. They had an incredible roster at the time. You had Richard Jefferson, Gilbert Arenas, Jason Gardner, Lauren Woods, Michael Wright, Eugene Edgerson. They were just stacked. Reuben Douglas was there, who ended up actually transferring, but really, really good basketball players. I think they actually, the year I would have been eligible, they lost in the final game to Duke. And the goal was to go find a spot where I could enjoy playing, hopefully put myself in a position to play professional basketball someday and hopefully win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And Lute was just very different than what I was accustomed to at Indiana, right? Lute was as laid back. Now he demanded excellence and he pushed you hard, but different style. Like I don't know if I don't think anybody that's ever played for him ever heard him say a cuss word, right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
He's just a tremendous person. So that's what really attracted me to Arizona. So that was all my intention, to go to Arizona, play basketball. Obviously got in a severe automobile accident, hit by a drunk driver that changed the course of my life and many others.
Mm-hmm.
So tragic situation. It's unique, Kenyon. It really changed me as a person.
Yeah.
From a gratitude perspective, just like, listen, you went through it. I went through it. When you're a college Division I athlete, you feel like you're invincible.
Yeah.
Right. From the attention you get to just you just feel like there's nothing that can stop you. And that stops you pretty quick. So you realize that life's precious. It's short. Unfortunately, some people in that accident, had their lives altered severely. I was lucky that I lived. I had a nurse that showed up on the scene of the accident, kind of saved my life because I severed my temporal artery, and immediately they rushed me into surgery and tried to fix me up to the best they can, I guess. And so that changed my perspective on life, for one. At that time, I didn't even know what my basketball career would look like. I didn't know if I'd play again. You just, at that point, you're trying to survive. And So that's what ultimately brought me back to Iowa. And Lute Olson was incredible. I will never forget. I didn't even really get a chance to practice more than like a week or two there because I had pins in my wrist. But I was around the team, and when you transfer at that point, you can't travel, so you kind of felt like I was isolated. I was like, man, this is not. And I will tell you this, like West Coast basketball, like Pac-10 at the time or Pac-12. It's not like the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like Big Ten, like we're going to see that now that UCLA and USC are in our conference. You look at those football games and their stadium's like half empty.
Yeah.
Like the Big Ten people are crazy. They love football. They love basketball in the Midwest. So it was just a very different, life for me out there. And I think, I wanted to get back to the Midwest. My dad was living here. I've known at the time, I'd known Steve Alford for a long time. So I wanted to get back to a place where I could be close to family, where I know they could come to my games.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, just Midwestern people.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up back at Iowa. And it was the best decision I ever made. Obviously, met my wife here, and we decided to put roots down here because of our friendships and the people we have met here. Just an amazing place to raise a family. So feel in a weird way, I feel fortunate that all that stuff happened to me, because it allowed me to be where I'm at today and live with a sense of gratitude that, nothing is, you can't take anything for granted. Every day is a gift. So.
Yeah, I know. I think it was so fresh back then, and we have a lot of new listeners and viewers now that just don't know, how did Luke Recker end up here? Because, like you said, life does take a lot of different turns, and how it changed you. You start thinking of, one word we use a lot, obviously, is legacy here. And you start thinking about, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Those kind of things. But you ended up here at Iowa, and and like I said in the opener, you hit one of the biggest shots in Big Ten tournament, even though people don't realize that. Like, I even thought it was a championship game that you hit that, but it was a semifinal.
I want to talk about that game.
But yeah, so you knock off Indiana at the buzzer with guys that you knew on the team and stuff like that. So take us back through that moment and then the feeling.
So what's crazy is people don't realize the day before I hit a shot against Wisconsin over Devin Harris, which was actually a buzzer beater as well. And then we turn around and play Indiana in Indianapolis at Conseco Fieldhouse. I don't think it's called that anymore. What is it now? I don't even know what it is.
Because we played there this year.
Yeah, I don't remember. Who knows what it is? Anyhow, playing Indiana, my former teammates, honestly, I have a ton of respect and admiration for Mike Davis, who we followed up with Coach Knight there. Love Coach Davis, and him and I always have had a great relationship. But listen, you're getting booed by everybody. I would tell you, Indiana fans were not too happy when I decided I was transferring. Plenty of threats, if you will. I mean, the fact that, like, that's why I said I couldn't imagine if they had Twitter or even Facebook or whatever. I don't even think we had MySpace. We were so old. Yeah. But anyhow, people actually sat down and like wrote hate letters to me. I'm like, who in their right mind is going to get out a piece of paper and a pen and sit down and address a letter to me about how terrible I am and how much they want to see me injured or hurt or worse, dead, who knows? But then they would, lick their envelope, address it, send. And I received stacks and stacks of these. I'm not joking.
Oh my God.
So to go back to Indianapolis and win in that atmosphere with Indiana, I mean, it felt, I'm not going to say it felt great. Right. So, and there's not all Indiana people or fans are bad. I mean, some of them were very nice to me and stuff, but it was great. It was a good win, over Jared Jeffries, who obviously had a tremendous career, NBA career, great guy. Against guys like Dane Fife, Kyle Hornsby, Coverdale. So guys I grew up playing with, and heck, even lived with Dane Fife, so
we won't get into that.
And anyhow, so it felt great. But Indiana, they were a great team. I think they actually went to the championship game that year. I mean, but I still think to this day, Indiana goes to the championship game because of the style that they played with Jared Jeffries. Jared created so many different mismatches that he was surrounded by shooters. They'd get him the ball in an isolation mode, then he would go to work and he would kick it out to Hornsby or Pfeiffer, and they just knock down threes, and that's what allowed them to. Very different style. They didn't play the old Indiana way.
Right. Kind of opened it up. Yeah, for sure. Well, you had a great career here.
Thanks.
I mean, you did. I mean, in 2 years, you almost score 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So, and then everybody's thinking, okay, Luke Recker, great career at Iowa,
Yeah.
all Big Ten. What about what are you going to do professionally? So I know you spent some time with the Miami Heat in camp and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your professional career.
Yeah, professionally, you know, so like what's crazy, I only played like 53 games at Iowa. I got injured halfway through my junior year. We were having a heck of a year with Dean Oliver leading the way at the point guard. Reggie Evans obviously came in for junior college, and heck, it was such a fun year until I hurt my knee. So that was a bummer. Anyhow, professionally, you know, you finish, and obviously the dream is to get drafted and play forever in the NBA. Probably not reality for most people. You know, I got picked up by the Heat in summer league, had a really, really good summer league. And, you know, they offered me a partial guarantee to come to camp because I had some offers in Europe. So I decided to give it a shot. And quite frankly, I let the pressure get to me. I didn't play or perform like I knew I could have, and ended up being the very last cut. I remember I called my agent. I'm like, hey, Pat Riley just released me. And he's like, no, we didn't. He's like, dude, they said you're definitely, you know, because they were. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I did. And I remember I told Pat Riley, I was like, well, I asked him, like, what would you suggest? I go to the NBA D League in Europe. He's like, you need to talk to your agent about that, whatever. So anyhow, the guy ended up getting cut. I went to, I tried to go to Europe right away. It was my intention. Nothing was, you know, all the European jobs were filled. Yeah. So, and then I ended up going to the D League at the time. I think it was the D League. Now it's called the G League. Equivalent. It's like AAA baseball, as you know, and did that for half a year, and then had opportunities in summer leagues every year. And then, but I'd get pretty good offers in Europe. Yeah. And then it was always hard to turn down money. Right. Plus the life experience. Like my wife and I, you know, we lived 6 years in Europe, and it was awesome. Like, you know, just the experiences we had, the people we met, you know, getting an opportunity to play basketball at a very, very high level. Yeah. And I enjoyed it. I loved it, you know, until my body said, don't do this anymore. You can't take it anymore. Yeah. And my daughter spent her first year of life in Spain. And that's when it got really hard because I was traveling all throughout Europe, playing in different countries, and, you know, not having the support of family was hard. So we made a decision to come back to the States, and that's when I thought I was going to coach basketball. You know, like, you think you're going to coach, you're going to stay around the game forever. And then I got an opportunity in the medical world. So that's where I'm at now. Yeah. For some reason, a lot of athletes end up in the medical. Yeah. It's crazy. It is true. I mean, I think they've done a study, and I think like 90% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies all played some type of college sport. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it lends itself to the dedication, commitment, the competitiveness that are in athletes, you know, to win, and those kind of things are huge. I challenge people all the time. Like, I promise you did not have a class in college that started at 6 a.m., but there's many weight sessions and conditioning sessions where you had to be there at quarter till 6 in the morning, and you had to be ready, you know? Yeah, absolutely. And that's you know, the points you made about family. I think that's the one thing that people don't understand about whether it's collegiate athletics or professional athletics is the commitment to the sport. To play at the highest level, you have to sacrifice something. And 9 times out of 10, it's your family. Yeah, it's hard. And, you know, everybody thinks it's glamorous, but and I remember I played in Europe, and it was actually, you know, 2 of the best years of my life because you, like you said, you got to travel and you see different cultures, but you're away from your family. And with the travel, and you have a newborn. I didn't have a newborn playing basketball. So, you know, I think that's one of these things that people don't realize. They think it's all glitz and glamour, and it really isn't. It really takes a toll on you emotionally. It doesn't matter the level, right? You could be talking what Keegan's doing now, right? With it, I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's glamorous, but it's a lot. Yeah, like there's a lot of high expectations. There's pressure. You're traveling all the time. And I look at the coaches now, like, you know, the amount of time, energy, effort, travel they put in for recruiting, and with no guarantees, right? Like, you're going to get, so it's a tough life, man. It's not easy. Another thing is if I have a bad week at my job, not everybody's on message boards talking about it, right? Right. Like, if you're a college coach or you're a professional basketball player or whatever, like, people are talking about your job every day.
Yeah. So, maybe a group me if you got a group me going on with your team.
I'm sure there's people at work that think I could probably be doing better at certain times, but it's not like in the newspapers. That's a good thing. Yeah,
for sure. But no, man, I mean, your roots are here.
Yeah.
You know, you and Megan, you got your kid. So, I mean, what's, you know, I talked to Daryl more about this too, about being a father is like one of the best feelings. Like it brings you the biggest joy. Like what is the thing that just puts a smile on your face when you think about your wife and your kids?
Yeah, man, it's everything to me. It's pretty cliche, but like really, like, you know, you grew up, there's a couple of things I wanted in life. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. And I wanted to be a father and husband, right? Mm-hmm. So I've got a chance to live my dream. And I couldn't be happier. Like it's a blessing to have two healthy kids. You know, I just came off a work call before I came here, and, you know, we always do a little segment. So it's tell me something good. Like, tell me something good that's going on in your life. Like, and they're like, what's going good in your life? I'm like, well, first off, like, at my age, if there's no news is good news, because I've been married for almost 20 years. I have two kids, and if they're happy and healthy, I'm happy and healthy. You know, I'm happy. So, I feel super blessed. Kenyon, I mean, my daughter Avery is a freshman in high school. She's a great kid. Son Bennett is in 6th grade. And, you know, you talk about legacy and the meaning of legacy, like it's family, right? It's, that's what truly matters. Like if I want to be known for anything, I don't care about being known for anything basketball wise, whether hitting final shots or whatever. Like I want to be known hopefully as a good father and as a good husband and good human being. Like that's truly what matters.
Absolutely. And like I said, you've had success and you are a good leader. And one of the things I wanted to ask you just professionally is, are there any lessons that you've taken as a player that you bring into work, you know, as you lead other people? I think that's the one thing I always thought about as a manager was I'm building a team. Yeah. You know, you're putting your team together, you're giving them instructions, and they need to, you know, they're trying to go out and execute your plan. Like, what are some lessons that you bring into the workforce every day?
You know, I think one thing that I've learned is by being on a team, there's so many different perspectives, like especially basketball, people come from so many different backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. And trying to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand that your perspective isn't necessarily their perspective, right? I think that's one thing I've gotten better at. So I think that's important, first off, on a team. And then secondly, just, you know, the lessons you learn through athletics, the teamwork, accountability, you know, putting other success before your own. Mm-hmm. Like that's highly important as a leader, because you're only as good as your people around you. I tell people this all the time. Like I do a lot of sports analogies. I'm sure people at work get tired of it, but you know, they talk about, oh, you're such, and not me in particular, but you're such a great manager, such a good people leader. I'm like, okay, well, let's slow down a little bit. Like, who's around you? Because Steve Kerr is a really good basketball coach, and he looks really good when you had Durant and you had Klay Thompson and Curry and Draymond and all these guys happy and healthy, and you're winning championships. Well, what happens when Klay Thompson tears his Achilles and Steph's out and Durant gets traded? Like his philosophy, his style didn't change at all, but the Warriors weren't winning.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. That's
so like point. Leadership is all about who's around you.
Yeah.
Right. If you got good people around you, the job's pretty easy.
That's awesome. That's a great point. I have it on my emails. I said the head coach is only as good as his assistants and his players.
Totally. It's so true. You're as good as people. Nobody does anything by themselves in this world. Right. Nobody has help and support. And if you got the right people around you supporting you, and they can make you look pretty good.
Absolutely. All right, man. So I'm going to hit you. We do rapid fire questions here at the end. So, all right. First one. If you need something sweet, what's your go-to?
Hot tamales. Or like, listen, I have a sweet tooth. Like at home, like, or if I'm on a car, like a 3 or 4 hour car trip, got to go to Chicago, like I'm stopping at the gas station getting hot tamales.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. That's a first for me. All right. Burger, chicken, or steak?
Oh, I like them all. I like to eat, but I'll probably choose steak.
Say steak? Okay, cool. Now, I think this next one, I think there are some definite things you should say on this question, but we'll see. Okay, you're on a desert island.
Yeah.
Who would you want to be with you? And what's one thing that you'll bring with you?
Oh, man. Well, I'd want my wife to be with me because she's my best friend and we've been together for over 20 years and trust and love her more than anything. And we watched the show Naked and Afraid all the time.
Yeah.
She's all into these Survivor shows, and we always get so mad when people don't bring the proper things. Like, if we're on a desert, we need to like survive. We definitely need a fire starter for sure.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it myself. I'm not an outdoors man. I don't know, man. Like a bunch of food, I guess.
Yeah. All right. I will take that. Well, awesome, man. So I want to thank Luke Recker for joining me today, and I want to leave you with a quote from American philosopher William James. The great use of life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. A big thank you to Luke Recker for joining me today. Please go to the Talk About Network page on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, and you can find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Kenyon Murray. Until next time. This podcast is sponsored by Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that specializes in creating high-quality video, photo, and audio productions for local businesses. Not only that, but they also produce a number of podcasts, including this one. So if you're interested in sharing the story of your business with the world, contact them today by visiting StorylineMultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters.